Passover season is upon us. And if you got time to watch this video, you're probably like me, just in the kitchen. Wanted to touch base briefly about this week's Parsha of Vayikra, which deals in great length with the Korbanos, with the sacrificial offerings that were brought. Now, how do we relate to it? We really don't relate to it. We don't have a temple anymore. Sacrificial offerings sound like something really ancient and really distant. But I just wanted to note that if we look back in the annals of history, sacrifices were a very big part of society. I'm not talking about sacrificing people. I'm talking about sacrificing animals. In fact, we know the first conflict that ever came about was between Cain and Abel, whose sacrifice was more readily accepted by God. So the question is, what do we as a Jewish people do to make our sacrifices different? How do we connect? The reality is, sacrifice in Hebrew is korban. Korban comes from the root of lekarev, which means to bring close. So a sacrifice doesn't mean like I have to sacrifice this to connect to you. No. Korban means lekarev, means I am getting closer to you through this action. Now, how is the Jewish idea of Korbanot different than everyone else? How is it a historical anomaly in that which we did? So I think the Korban Pesach, now we're getting ready for Passover. If we look at the first Paschal Lamb, there's a lot that's hidden in that, where we can learn that the Jewish experience of sacrifice is different than every other experience of sacrifice that preceded it. Now, why is that? We look at Cain and Abel. Cain had a beautiful sacrifice of vegetables. Well, they weren't really as beautiful as Abel's. They weren't accepted. Abel, of course, offered an animal. And from that point on, there were always animals that were sacrificed and offered to God, or in other civilizations, to gods. Come along, the Jewish people, it's Passover time. You know what we do that's unique? Says Rav Victor Miller, we innovated one thing. Instead of just offering a sacrifice to God, we took that korban, we took that offering and ate it ourselves. It's a big statement. You know what that statement means? I mean, let's think about it. You love hamburgers, you love hot dogs, you love cuisine. It all tastes delicious, but it kind of ends up in the same place, right? Once you can't hold on to it forever and you let go of it, it doesn't smell so good. It's not such a wonderful experience in the end, but when it goes down, it's great. So a sacrifice is something you're giving to God. And you're going to eat that? You're going to connect to that and you're going to dispose of it as wasteful? The answer, of course, is when we're Jewish, we do things differently. When our sacrifices are brought, when our korbanos are brought, it's not just about giving something to God. It's not just making my own financial sacrifice. It's about getting closer to God. Now, how close can you get? You can get so close that you can even share your meal. That is an amazing idea. So when we look through this week's Parsha in Vayikra, and we go through many Parshas, dealing with the details and the subtleties of these korbanos, we have to appreciate the goal is not just to give up from your pocketbook. The goal is to get closer. How close can you get? You can even share a meal. It's the first time in the annals of history that anyone ever thought of not only bringing a korban, but sharing it. That's the Jewish way. Our job is to connect on a deep, personal, and meaningful way. So while we're cruising through the korbanos, while we're looking through these parshas, keep that in mind, that it was a very unique expression, a Jewish expression, in connecting with God. Wishing you all wonderful Shabbos, and good luck in your preparations for Pesach.